Across the world, scattered across deserts, hidden beneath jungles, and resting on lonely, windswept plains, lie the remains of extraordinary ancient achievements. Towering megaliths, massive walls, and vast tombs built by hands we can no longer name. Their blocks weigh hundreds, sometimes thousands of tons, shaped and assembled with a precision that still commands respect thousands of years later. Yet, in many cases, we don't know who built them, why they were created, or the ancient techniques used to bring them into being. Some seem to have been constructed long before the cultures we typically credit with great engineering feats, raising uncomfortable questions for the conventional timeline. These sites are more than just relics. They are puzzles left behind by civilizations whose capabilities remain far beyond what we expect from their era. But there's another layer to this mystery, one echoed in the oldest stories of nearly every culture on Earth, the memory of a great flood, from Mesopotamia's Epic of Gilgamesh, where the gods send a deluge to wipe out humanity, to the Hopi of North America who tell of waters that swept away a corrupt world. The theme repeats. Ancient Chinese legends speak of devastating inundations reshaping the land, while Aboriginal Australians pass down vivid accounts of seas rising to divide their territories. These aren't loose similarities. They're strikingly consistent accounts, from cultures separated by oceans, mountains, and millennia. Some researchers see them as memories of real events, sea level rise, and geological upheavals at the end of the last ice age 12,000 to 8,000 years ago. Others note that many traditions, including the biblical account, place their great flood far later, around 2300 BC. If that later date is correct, it hints at something truly catastrophic, powerful enough to erase entire civilizations. And perhaps those civilizations were more connected than we think. Around the world, megaliths share uncanny similarities in scale, style, and construction techniques. Despite vast distances between their builders, could this point to a once prominent global megalith building culture? One wiped almost entirely from the record by a cataclysmic flood. So join us as we delve into some of these fascinating pre-flood megaliths to search for the knowledge and intent their builders left encoded in stone. Remember, as always with our videos, the visuals aren't necessary. So whether you're watching closely or just listening along, sit back, get comfy, and let the outside world fade for a while. Together, we'll explore the possibility that the massive walls, monuments, tombs, and carvings we find today may be more than ruins. They may be the last surviving messages from advanced societies swept away in a single world-changing event. Ishi no Hoden and Masuda no Iwafune, Japan. Tucked away in the quiet wooded hillsides of Japan lie two ancient monuments whose origins remain as mysterious as their appearance. These enigmatic structures, the Ishi no Hoden and Masuda no Yaun, represent some of Japan's most intriguing megalithic puzzles. Unlike more famous monuments such as Stonehenge or Egypt's pyramids, these remarkable Japanese stones rarely appear in documentaries or mainstream history books. Yet their existence challenges conventional wisdom about early civilizations and their technological capabilities. First, let's explore the mesmerizing Ishi no Hoden, often called the floating stone of Hyogo Prefecture. At first glance, this enormous granite monolith immediately captures attention. It seems to defy gravity itself. Suspended above a small pool of water, the stone gives the illusion of floating gently above its base. The monolith measures approximately 6.4 meters in length, 5.7 meters wide, and 5.45 meters tall, and its sheer weight is estimated at around 500 tons. To put this into perspective, this single stone weighs roughly as much as 3 jumbo jets. Yet the massive granite appears delicately balanced, supported by only a small central pillar that is skillfully concealed by the surrounding water. Upon closer inspection, the precision and craftsmanship involved become even more baffling. The surfaces of the Ishi no Hoden are astonishingly smooth, featuring precise, clean-cut angles that modern stonemasons acknowledge would require advanced tools and careful planning, even by contemporary standards. Archaeologists and historians have struggled to conclusively explain how ancient people managed to carve and balance such a massive stone with primitive technology. What's more, no historical records or archaeological artifacts clearly indicate the monument's true purpose or the identity of its builders. Local legends only deepen the mystery surrounding the Ishi no Hoden. According to folklore passed down for generations, the stone was not crafted by ordinary humans. Instead, the stories hint at advanced beings or gods descending from the heavens who shaped the stone using supernatural methods. Such tales, while fantastical, raise intriguing questions about whether these myths could hold grains of historical truth, possibly indicating contact with an advanced civilization whose existence has since faded from historical memory. Not far away, another ancient megalith known as Masuda Noya, or the rock ship of Masuda, is equally compelling and mysterious. Located in Aska, Nara Prefecture, this massive granite stone is carved into a peculiar and distinctive shape that defies easy categorization. The rock measures approximately 11 men long, 8-meter wide, and nearly 5 meter tall, presenting an imposing sight in the serene Japanese countryside. The precise purpose behind Masuda Noya remains an enduring enigma. Unlike other ancient monuments around the world, often linked to tombs, temples, or astronomical observatories, the rock ship offers no clear explanation. Carved intricately into the granite surface are symmetrical grooves and rectangular indentations. Some researchers speculate these carvings could have served a practical function, perhaps as foundations or anchoring points for a larger structure now lost to time. Others propose that they might have been part of ceremonial rituals or symbolic markers. Yet none of these theories have definitive archaeological backing, leaving the true purpose of Masuda obscured in historical mystery. Even more baffling is the absence of stone chips or carving debris nearby, which typically accompanies large-scale stonework. This lack of evidence has led some researchers to suggest that the stone may have been transported here after carving, an idea that brings its own puzzling implications given its colossal weight and the primitive technology supposedly available at the time. Interestingly, the area surrounding Masuda Noya and Ishino-Hoden is steeped in ancient folklore and mythology, referencing advanced beings or powerful civilizations lost in distant antiquity. Japanese legends describe these ancient societies as possessing extraordinary skills and knowledge far beyond the scope of contemporary understanding. Stories speak of great teachers who arrived from across the sea or descended from the heavens, imparting wisdom in architecture, astronomy, agriculture, and medicine, only to vanish mysteriously in a catastrophic event often described as a massive flood or devastating tsunami. Indeed, Japan itself has numerous flood myths resembling those found globally. One of the most compelling tales is recorded in the Kojiki, an ancient Japanese text written around 712 AD, recounting a period of chaos when the gods sent powerful floods and storms to cleanse and reshape the land. These stories bear striking parallels to other flood myths worldwide, hinting at a shared global memory of catastrophic events. If we consider these Japanese megaliths in the context of such stories, intriguing possibilities emerge. Could the advanced construction techniques evident in these stones indicate that the builders belonged to a sophisticated civilization disrupted or destroyed by a significant flooding event? If so, this would align with global flood narratives, suggesting that ancient Japan once hosted a culture whose knowledge and technology were abruptly lost. Compounding this mystery is the cultural phenomenon of forgotten technology, evidenced by similar stone structures worldwide. Both Ishino-Hoden and Masuda Noya bear resemblance to other inexplicable ancient monuments scattered globally. Structures that defy easy explanation, demonstrating similar patterns of precise stone cutting and meticulous placement. From the massive polygonal walls of South America to the mysterious split stones of the Arabian deserts, common techniques and styles suggest a widespread ancient understanding of megalithic architecture. Ancient walls of South America. When most people think of ancient ruins, familiar sites like the pyramids of Egypt or the temples of Greece typically spring to mind. But hidden away in the mountains of Peru and beneath the waves off the coast of Syria lie walls built from massive stones, each one meticulously shaped, moved, and set into place with a precision that's almost unsettling. These structures are not merely impressive, they're genuinely puzzling. The people who built them vanished long ago, leaving behind no written records or explanations. Even today, modern engineers marvel at their craftsmanship, uncertain how ancient hands achieved such feats. Let's begin. High in the Andes Mountains, just outside the bustling modern city of Cusco, Peru, here sits the ancient fortress of Sakayan, an imposing stone complex dating back hundreds, possibly thousands of years. Upon first glance, it's easy to underestimate just how extraordinary this place really is. But walk a little closer, and the true marvel quickly comes into focus. The fortress's walls are crafted from gigantic limestone boulders, some weighing over 200 tons, roughly the weight of 120 average cars. What's truly remarkable isn't just the size, but the precision. Each stone is fitted against its neighbors without mortar or cement, placed together so perfectly that even a single piece of paper can't slide into the cracks between them. Not only do the stones lock tightly together, they also follow gently curving patterns, winding gracefully along the hillside. Some stones have up to 12 distinct angles cut precisely, matching their neighbors' unique shapes exactly. Standing in front of these enormous stones, it's hard not to ask how ancient builders, using supposedly simple tools of bronze and stone, managed to create something modern machines would find daunting. Archaeologists agree that transporting and placing these huge stones would have required immense effort. But when questioned about how exactly this was done, even seasoned researchers often shrug and admit it's something of a mystery. Local folklore offers fascinating explanations. Some stories speak of giants who moved and shaped these stones, possessing enormous strength or mystical powers. Other tales passed down by generations describe ancient civilizations with abilities that seem almost mythical today. People capable of making stones lighter or softer, temporarily easing their manipulation into perfect alignment. A few hundred kilometers northwest of Sakayan lies another astonishing Peruvian site known as Ollantaytambo. Nestled in the sacred valley, this site features what is known as the Wall of the Six Monoliths, another incredible demonstration of ancient engineering. These 6 massive granite stones stand tall, aligned side by side. Each monolith is enormous, carved out of solid granite, weighing up to 50 tons apiece, and again fitted with astonishing accuracy. But here, the mystery deepens even further. These granite blocks didn't originate from the immediate vicinity. Instead, archaeologists trace their origins to a quarry on a distant mountain, located approximately 7 kilometers away across rugged terrain in a deep valley. Transporting each stone would have required moving them down steep slopes across rivers and finally hauling them uphill to their resting place. Even today, with our heavy machinery and advanced logistics, the task would be exceptionally difficult. The question naturally arises: how did ancient cultures achieve this monumental effort? Again, the local Ketwa people preserve rich legends of a time when their ancestors received assistance from beings known as the Vera coaches, a legendary civilization of wise men who arrived, taught advanced skills like agriculture and construction, and then abruptly disappeared. According to these traditions, the great stones were moved through unknown, possibly supernatural means. While modern science may resist such explanations, these local stories reflect genuine awe toward their ancestors' remarkable abilities. But South America isn't alone in hosting ancient megalithic walls that intrigue modern observers. Across the globe, off the Mediterranean coast near Syria, the ancient island city of Arwad conceals yet another mysterious structure. Known historically as one of the earliest continuously inhabited settlements, Arwad's roots stretch back to Phoenician times, nearly 4,000 years ago or more. Beneath the shallow waters surrounding the island lies something truly curious: a partially submerged megalithic wall constructed from massive blocks of limestone. Diving explorations reveal large stones similar in style and precision to those found in Peru, fitted tightly together without any binding mortar. What's particularly intriguing is the fact that this wall currently rests underwater, submerged beneath several meters of the Mediterranean Sea. Its presence beneath the waves strongly hints at a dramatic rise in sea level since its construction, possibly connecting it to global flood events recorded by ancient civilizations around the world. The Phoenicians themselves, expert sailors and traders, left surprisingly little direct explanation about this submerged structure. However, local stories surviving on Arwad speak vaguely of ancient, prosperous civilizations that suddenly vanished after catastrophic floods. It's fascinating and slightly eerie to imagine an ancient people building this structure above water. unaware of the dramatic changes awaiting their city. While each of these walls, Sacsayhuaman, Ollantay, Tambo, and Arwad, is impressive on its own, the similarities between them invite curiosity. Each employs massive stones cut with precision and placed together without mortar, exhibiting a sophisticated understanding of geometry, physics, and engineering. Equally compelling are the stories shared by the cultures around these walls, speaking consistently of civilizations whose skills and knowledge far surpass their own and who disappeared mysteriously, often linked to flood-like catastrophes. Another interesting point worth considering is the peculiar carvings and artistic motifs found on or near these megaliths. In Ollantay Tambo, for example, nearby stones bear intricate carvings of abstract geometric shapes, spirals, and stylized figures. Similarly, at other megalithic sites around the globe, notably Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, nearly identical carvings appear. Stylized symbols of animals, abstract geometric patterns, and figures holding what appear to be handbags or small pouches. While interpretations vary, these carvings suggest a possible shared cultural symbolism among ancient builders separated by thousands of miles. Could these walls represent remnants of a network of ancient builders who shared ideas, symbols, or perhaps even technology across vast distances? While direct evidence for such a global connection remains elusive, the similarities in technique and symbolic carvings present a fascinating possibility. It opens the intriguing idea that ancient peoples, far more connected than traditionally imagined, traded not only goods but ideas and skills as well, leaving behind enigmatic structures whose purposes and origins puzzle us still today. It's also worth considering the precise astronomical alignments observed at these sites. Many ancient megaliths worldwide, including those discussed here, incorporate clear celestial alignments into their designs. Stones aligned precisely to solstices, equinoxes, or significant star positions indicate a sophisticated understanding of astronomy by their builders. While practical uses like marking, planting, or harvest times are plausible, these alignments seem more complex and deliberate than mere calendars. They suggest a deep-seated respect or reverence for celestial events, perhaps a universal cultural trait of these ancient vanished civilizations. What we can say with certainty is that these ancient walls standing silently through millennia offer a compelling look into the capabilities of their unknown builders. These enormous stones, perfectly shaped, transported across daunting distances, and precisely aligned, tell us plainly that their creators possessed extraordinary skills. They prompt us to question the simplistic idea that early societies were merely primitive. Instead, they reveal that the people who built these walls were resourceful, intelligent, and inventive in ways we can still barely grasp today. As you wander among the enormous stones at places like Sacsayhuaman or gaze into the waters around Arwad, you encounter the physical legacy of people who mastered stonework in ways few others have since matched. Whether the builders were ancient Peruvians, Phoenicians, or unknown cultures long lost to history, their impressive achievements survive carved into stone, still inspiring awe and curiosity thousands of years later. Rujum El Hiri, Golan Heights. Hidden away in the quiet and windswept landscape of the Golden Heights lies a mysterious sight few have heard of. Yet those who encounter it find it undeniably captivating. Known as Rujum El Hiri, Arabic for stone heap of the wild cat. This intriguing ancient structure consists of a series of massive concentric stone circles quietly dominating the barren terrain for thousands of years. Built around 5,000 years ago, roughly during the early Bronze Age, Rujahiri predates many of the world's more famous ancient monuments. From ground level, its true complexity is surprisingly difficult to grasp, just piles of basalt stones scattered across an open field. But view it from above and the picture dramatically changes. From the sky, it reveals a remarkably precise layout of circular stone walls arranged neatly within each, other like ripples radiating outward from a stone mound at its center. The largest circle spans an impressive 60 min diameter, and the entire complex consists of over 42,000 tons of carefully placed volcanic rock. Archaeologists agree the site likely held significant importance for its builders, but exactly why it was constructed remains uncertain. What's particularly intriguing about Rujum El Hiri is its clear alignment with astronomical events. On the summer solstice, the longest day of the year, the first rays of the rising sun shine directly through the structure's entrance, illuminating its central mound. This precise solar alignment strongly suggests ancient builders possessed considerable astronomical knowledge and deliberately designed the structure to track seasonal cycles. Adding further fascination are the discoveries from excavations within the central mound. Archaeologists found a burial chamber deep inside, dating to a slightly later era than the circles themselves. This suggests the site might have served various ceremonial or ritualistic functions over many centuries, perhaps associated with honoring ancestors, marking seasonal changes, or celebrating celestial events. However, no definitive explanation fully resolves the site's original purpose, leaving archaeologists and historians with more questions than answers. Local folklore enriches the mystery of Rujum el-Hiri even further. Among nearby communities, especially the Druze people living in the region, legends speak vividly of giants who once roamed the landscape. According to these traditions, these enormous beings effortlessly built monumental structures overnight, carrying massive stones in their bare hands. Such tales might sound exaggerated today, yet, intriguingly, they echo similar myths found in cultures worldwide. From the giants who supposedly built Stonehenge in England to those said to have erected megaliths in ancient Armenia. Other regional legends describe an advanced ancient society that once flourished here, skilled in astronomy and architecture, whose civilization suddenly vanished without leaving clear traces. These stories offer tantalizing glimpses into how people in antiquity made sense of mysterious structures left behind by earlier forgotten societies. What we do know for certain is that Rujum el-Hiri's builders were organized, knowledgeable, and capable of coordinating large groups of people to achieve ambitious projects. They carefully planned each stone's position, precisely aligning their structure to celestial events. Even today, standing within its concentric circles under the vast sky, visitors can't help but sense something special about the place. An ancient link connecting humanity to the rhythms of nature and the cosmos. While Rujum el-Hiri remains largely overlooked by popular archaeology, its presence in the Golan Heights continues to inspire curiosity and fascination. Whether built by ancient astronomers, forgotten cultures, or legendary giants, this remarkable stone complex silently invites all who visit to appreciate the mysteries of our collective past. Al-Nasla Rock Formation, Saudi Arabia. From mysterious stone circles in the Golan Heights, our journey now takes us into the sun-baked deserts of Saudi Arabia, a landscape of stark beauty and ancient secrets. Here, standing amid drifting sands and relentless sunlight, is one of the world's most peculiar geological formations, Al-Nasla. At first glance, the Al-Nusla rock formation appears almost surreal, as if conjured up by a sculptor's imagination rather than shaped by natural forces. Two enormous sandstone boulders sit side by side, separated by a remarkably precise vertical split, so clean and exact that it looks more like the work of a modern laser than anything nature might create. Each half is delicately balanced on a small, naturally formed pedestal, giving them an elegant, almost gravity-daying appearance. What immediately grabs attention, though, is the astonishing precision of the cut between the two stones. Stretching down several meters in height, the fracture line dividing them is perfectly straight, so sharply defined that observers often find themselves questioning its natural origins. Even trained geologists familiar with countless examples of weathering and erosion marvel at the Al-Nasla formation's striking perfection. Scientific explanations have been proposed suggesting natural geological processes, such as seismic activity, wind erosion, or pressure changes in the rock layers could account for this unusual split. However, none of these theories fully satisfy every expert. The smoothness and symmetry of the division are simply too precise to comfortably attribute entirely to nature, leaving the door open for intriguing possibilities. Adding another layer of mystery are the remarkable petroglyphs etched into Al-Nasla's sandstone surface. Believed to be thousands of years old, these ancient carvings depict various animals, figures, and abstract shapes, providing a tantalizing glimpse into the region's early human inhabitants. But what connection, if any, do these carvings have to the enigmatic split? Could the people who created these petroglyphs also be responsible for, or at least inspired by, the remarkable geological anomaly beside them? Given the extraordinary precision involved, some researchers speculate that ancient people with advanced knowledge or tools may have deliberately created the split. Such a theory naturally raises questions about what kind of technology might have been available to them. Traditional historical understanding suggests that the societies living in this desert region thousands of years ago possessed only basic tools, stone and bronze chisels, hammers, and simple levers. Yet even today, cutting a stone this size with modern technology and achieving a similarly precise line would be challenging and labor-intensive. Could an ancient civilization have had access to methods far beyond what conventional history acknowledges? There are no direct historical records clearly answering this question. And yet, local Arabian folklore offers intriguing clues. Legends from the region speak of ancient tribes who had mastery over stone, capable of shaping rock effortlessly with strange and unknown tools. These stories often weave in mythical elements, describing beings or people with unusual powers who could alter stone's consistency, turning it soft or easily moldable. At Al-Nasla, scientists continued to debate and investigate the formation's origins. Some geologists theorize that seismic activity in the distant past created stress fractures, eventually splitting the rock so neatly. Others point to ancient volcanic activity, suggesting that heated groundwater might have weakened certain mineral layers within the sandstone, leading to the precise fracture we see today. Yet neither scenario entirely convinces skeptics, leaving room for alternative interpretations and debate. It's fascinating to consider what observers thousands of years ago might have thought when encountering this peculiar rock formation. Did they see it as evidence of divine or supernatural intervention? Was the location chosen deliberately for petroglyphs because they saw something special or sacred in its appearance? Ancient cultures often revered unusual natural landmarks, attributing special meaning or spiritual significance to them, and Al-Nazla certainly qualifies as extraordinary. Local Bedouin traditions add further flavor to the mystery. Stories shared among tribes describe ancient times when powerful beings or skilled craftsmen inhabited the land, leaving behind subtle traces of their presence. Marks and monuments meant as guides or symbolic reminders of their passing. Could Al-Nusla's precisely split stones represent one such deliberately placed monument? Its meaning and message now lost to history. Whatever its true origins, whether purely natural, man-made, or something in between, the Al-Nasla rock formation continues to captivate and perplex visitors today. Tourists, historians, and scientists alike journey into the harsh desert to see this baffling geological curiosity firsthand. Its distinctive, almost artistic appearance and the unanswered questions surrounding its creation ensure that it remains a favorite subject for speculation and wonder. Perhaps someday, new discoveries or advanced scientific analysis will finally clarify exactly how this enigmatic formation came to be. Until then, Al-Nasla stands silently in the desert sun, a stone riddle inviting anyone who encounters it to ponder its mysteries, consider its origins, and imagine the untold stories etched deep within its perfectly split face. The Osirian, Abydos, Egypt. We now journey to Egypt, famous for its ancient wonders, yet home to lesser-known sites equally captivating. Nestled quietly behind the Temple of Seti, one at Abydos lies a subterranean structure known as the Osiron, an enigmatic complex that many believe predates even the oldest Egyptian dynasties. At first glance, the Osiron doesn't look like typical Egyptian architecture at all. Hidden partially underground, this ancient complex feels more like something you might discover deep within a lost civilization rather than behind a well-documented temple. Descending into the Osiron feels like stepping back into a different era, one even older than the pyramids or the Great Sphinx. The Osiron consists of a series of massive granite pillars arranged precisely around a central island, forming a symmetrical chamber partially submerged in groundwater. Each of these colossal pillars weighs approximately 100 tons, shaped and placed with astonishing precision. Unlike the intricate hieroglyphics and detailed carvings that adorn most Egyptian temples, the surfaces here are smooth, simple, and remarkably austere. The stonework displays incredible craftsmanship, showcasing precise, straight edges, sharp angles, and perfect joints, all achieved without mortar. Similar to the megalithic walls found in distant Peru or the Mediterranean, this architectural style stands apart from traditional ancient Egyptian methods. Typically, Egyptian temples, like the nearby Temple of Seti, feature ornate inscriptions, colorful murals, and elaborate reliefs. The Osiron, however, has none of this decorative grandeur. Instead, it exudes a minimalist sophistication, almost modern in its simplicity. This stark difference in style has led researchers to wonder if the Assyrian might not be Egyptian at all. but perhaps inherited from an even older civilization. Historical records and archaeological evidence have struggled to definitively date the Osiris. Traditional Egyptologists attribute it to Pharaoh I, roughly 1290 to 1279 BC. However, the evidence is not entirely clear, and numerous researchers argue the structure is much older, possibly thousands of years older, citing its unique design, construction methods, and extensive water erosion patterns on the stone surfaces as evidence. These erosion patterns, observed notably by alternative historians, resemble those famously found on the body of the Great Sphinx at Giza, suggesting exposure to significant flooding or prolonged rainfall events, conditions far predating Egypt's recognized dynastic periods. This observation raises intriguing possibilities about the region's climate and environmental conditions thousands of years before traditional history recognizes large-scale Egyptian civilization. Egyptian mythology adds another fascinating layer to the mystery surrounding the Osiris. According to legend, the site honors Osiris, god of the afterlife and rebirth, believed by ancient Egyptians to have brought civilization, wisdom, and culture to humanity. Local traditions suggest the Osiris was deliberately built to symbolize Osiris's tomb, linking the structure closely to ancient myths of a golden age when gods and demigods interacted directly with humans. The Egyptians themselves consistently maintained that many of their sacred places, especially those associated with Osiris, were not their own original constructions. Instead, they described inheriting temples and sacred structures from a much older culture, a civilization they described as highly advanced and directly connected with divine beings or gods. These legends speak of beings known as the Shamsu, or followers of Horus, semi-divine rulers who governed Egypt long before its recorded history began. The Shamsu are credited in ancient texts with establishing advanced cultural traditions, monumental architecture, and complex spiritual beliefs. Could the Osiris be one of these legendary inherited structures? Its architecture certainly aligns with the descriptions Egyptians gave of these earlier divine buildings. Massive scale, precision craftsmanship, and distinctive construction methods unlike anything else from the recognized dynastic era. This raises fascinating questions about Egypt's historical timeline and the true origins of its earliest monuments. Further deepening the intrigue, researchers note that the Osiris shares architectural traits and sophisticated building techniques with other enigmatic ancient sites worldwide, notably Peru's Sacsayhuaman or Turkey's Göbekli. Such similarities hint at shared knowledge or methods existing in a remote past, potentially predating established histories of these separate cultures. Yet, despite intense archaeological interest and modern research, the Osiris remains an unsolved puzzle. Water continually fills its chambers, limiting excavation and detailed study, preserving its secrets beneath a shallow pool that has existed since antiquity. Visitors today still marvel at its stark elegance and imposing presence, capturing the imagination without revealing its true origins. Local guides and historians near Abydos often speak of the Osiris with a mix of reverence and curiosity, recounting stories passed down through generations that hint at lost civilizations and divine beings who once walked alongside humans. Even now in modern Egypt, these legends continue to resonate, less as fanciful myths and more as echoes of a distant reality preserved through storytelling. Though questions about who built the Osiris remain unanswered, its presence challenges our understanding of ancient Egyptian history. As archaeologists continue to explore and study, perhaps future discoveries beneath the sands and waters around Abydos will finally provide definitive clues about the true age and origin of this fascinating structure. Dolmen de Soto, Spain, and Newgrange Tomb, Ireland, leaving the sun-baked landscapes of Egypt behind. We now travel northwest across the Mediterranean Sea to the Iberian Peninsula to a quiet corner of southern Spain. Nestled among peaceful fields and rolling hillsides near the town of Trigueros is a remarkable ancient structure known as the Dolmen de Soto. This unassuming yet striking monument offers another piece to the global puzzle of ancient megalithic builders whose creations continue to fascinate archaeologists and visitors alike. Constructed around 5,000 years ago, Dolmen de Soto is one of the largest and most significant megalithic tombs in Spain. From the outside, it appears deceptively simple, a large mound of earth covering a stone-lined passage. But step inside and a world of wonder unfolds. Stretching almost 21 meters in length, The corridor leads visitors deep into a mysterious chamber formed by massive, upright stones. Each stone slab was carefully chosen and deliberately placed, some weighing several tons, giving visitors the immediate sense that this was no ordinary construction. But Dolmen de Soto's true wonder reveals itself in the carvings that decorate its stone walls. Walking slowly through the dim interior, visitors encounter intricate patterns, spirals, abstract designs, and stylized figures etched directly into the stone. These symbols appear surprisingly consistent and deliberate, though their precise meaning remains elusive. Were they purely decorative, symbolic references to celestial events, or perhaps ancient maps marking nearby sacred sites? Scholars continue to study them, intrigued by their complexity and subtlety. One fascinating aspect of Dolmen de Soto is its deliberate astronomical alignment. Archaeologists studying the tomb noted that its entrance faces precisely eastward. Each year during the equinoxes, the 2 days of the year when day and night are of equal length, the rising sun's rays penetrate deep into the dolmen's passage, illuminating the inner chamber and its carvings. This phenomenon strongly suggests the site's builders possessed significant astronomical knowledge, carefully aligning their structure to specific moments within the solar calendar. The sophistication required to create such precise astronomical alignments 5,000 years ago cannot be overstated. It implies careful planning, keen observation, and a cultural importance placed upon solar events. Many experts believe this alignment served ritualistic or ceremonial functions, marking agricultural cycles or connecting the living with their ancestors during times of cosmic transition. Leaving the warmth of southern Spain, we now travel northward across the waters to the emerald fields of Ireland. Here, nestled in the serene Boyne Valley, sits another ancient marvel, the Newgrange tomb. Constructed around 3200 BC, making it older than Stonehenge and even the Great Pyramid of Giza. Newgrange offers another intriguing glimpse into the sophisticated capabilities of ancient builders. At first glance, Newgrange appears as a large circular mound of grass-covered earth. But as you draw closer, the structure reveals its true complexity. Encircled by enormous standing stones, Newgrange's exterior facade features a striking white quartz wall, restored in modern times to resemble its original appearance, and large rounded granite boulders decorating the perimeter. The tomb measures over 80 meters in diameter and stands about 13 meters high, an imposing presence amid the Irish countryside. The most captivating feature of Newgrange lies within. Visitors enter through a narrow stone-lined passageway, nearly 19 meters long, leading into a cruciform-shaped chamber with 3 recesses, each believed to have held ancient remains or ceremonial objects. Covering the walls and ceilings are intricate carvings, spirals, zigzags, and geometric motifs that echo those seen at Dolmen de Soto, suggesting possible cultural connections across time and distance. But the true marvel comes during the winter solstice. Each year, as the sun rises on the shortest day of the year, a narrow beam of light enters through an opening above the entrance called the roof box. This beam travels deep into the passage, illuminating the chamber for a brief but spectacular moment before fading. For the rest of the year, the tomb's interior remains in shadow. This alignment required extraordinary planning, careful observation, and advanced engineering. The solstice alignment likely held profound importance for Newgrange's builders, symbolizing renewal, rebirth, or the return of light after the darkest night. Irish folklore deepens this sense of mystery, with myths claiming Newgrange was built by the Tuatha De Danann, a mystical tribe of gods and heroes skilled in magic and craftsmanship. While mythical, these stories underscore the awe the site inspired, even in antiquity. Both Dolmen de Soto in Spain and Newgrange in Ireland highlight incredible levels of sophistication and cultural depth. Separated by geography and time, their builders nonetheless shared common practices: astronomical alignments, intricate carvings, and monumental stonework. These sites remind us of humanity's enduring fascination with the sky, the cycles of nature, and the drive to leave behind monuments bridging the living with the eternal. Baalbek Megaliths, Lebanon. From the softly rolling hills of Ireland's Newgrange tomb, we journey southeast across Europe into the rugged landscapes of Lebanon, where one of the most astonishing megalithic sites in the world awaits. Nestled in the fertile Bekaa Valley, Baalbek holds some of the largest stone blocks ever carved and positioned by human hands. Despite centuries of study, how these massive stones were moved and set into place remains one of archaeology's most enduring mysteries. Approaching Baalbek, the first impression is one of sheer scale. The site is best known today for its grand Roman temples, the Temple of Jupiter, Temple of Bacchus, and Temple of Venus, built roughly 2,000 years ago. Yet beneath these familiar Roman structures lies something far older and more enigmatic: colossal foundations made from impossibly large limestone blocks. These stones, known collectively as the trilithon, weigh an estimated 800 tons each, the equivalent of 2 fully loaded jumbo jets. These blocks were not simply dragged into place. They were carefully cut, shaped, and set with a precision that defies easy explanation. The joints between them are so tight that even a razor blade cannot slip into the seams. Their immense weight and flawless placement make Baalbek's foundations some of the most extraordinary in the world. The trilithon is only part of the mystery. In a nearby quarry lies the stone of the pregnant woman, estimated at over 1,000 tons, one of the largest monoliths ever attempted by humankind. Another nearby block discovered more recently pushes the limit even further, weighing over 1,600 tons. These stones were never fully transported, leaving us to wonder whether ancient builders had reached the limits of their methods, or whether catastrophic events interrupted their plans. How exactly were such massive stones quarried, transported, and lifted into place? Archaeologists have proposed systems of rollers, sledges, ropes, and thousands of laborers. Yet modern experiments replicating such methods struggle with stones even a fraction of the size, raising doubts about the feasibility of these explanations. Moving an 800-ton block across uneven terrain and then lifting it into position remains a challenge even for today's advanced cranes and machinery. Local folklore offers another explanation: giants. Stories passed down through generations tell of enormous beings who once roamed the valley, possessing superhuman strength and building Baalbek's stones as easily as stacking toys. While dismissed by mainstream archaeology, these myths echo similar traditions worldwide in which giants are credited with megalithic construction. Roman historians visiting Baalbek themselves noted the immensity of the stones and speculated they predated Roman occupation, built by unknown peoples of extraordinary ability. Theories abound. Some suggest Phoenician or Canaanite builders thousands of years before Rome were responsible. But even these cultures, according to their own records, lacked the necessary technology. Others argue the Romans themselves might have moved the blocks, though no Roman site elsewhere uses stones remotely close to Baalbek's size. This leaves the origins of Baalbek's megaliths suspended in uncertainty. Adding to the puzzle is the precision of the stone surfaces. Some researchers note that the cuts are unusually clean and even, almost as though machined. Could the builders have possessed advanced techniques or tools long since lost to history? Without definitive evidence, speculation persists, straddling the line between archaeology and alternative history. Standing among Baalbek's ruins today is humbling. The Roman temples are themselves magnificent, but the true marvel lies below, in the silent foundations of megaliths whose creation remains unexplained. Whether the product of ingenious ancient engineering, forgotten technologies, or mythical giants, Baalbek challenges our assumptions about what ancient civilizations were capable of achieving. Its stones, immense and immovable, endure as timeless riddles carved into the landscape. Serpent Mound, North America. Leaving behind the colossal stones of Baalbek, our journey now crosses the Atlantic into the heart of North America, where the ancient builders did not rely on massive blocks of stone, but on the very earth itself. Among rolling hills and river valleys lie monuments that rival the precision and mystery of any megalith, yet they are made entirely of soil. These are the earthworks of ancient America, vast constructions that still inspire awe thousands of years after their creation. One of the most remarkable is Ohio's Serpent Mound. Stretching more than 400 meters along a ridge, the mound takes the unmistakable form of a serpent, its body coiling in 7 graceful curves, its head poised as if about to swallow an oval shape, often interpreted as the sun, an egg, or a symbol of rebirth. From the ground, the structure looks like a series of low earthen embankments, but from above, its true design emerges, a massive serpent etched into the landscape with uncanny precision. What makes Serpent Mound especially striking is not only its scale and artistry, but its alignment with celestial events. Researchers have found that the serpent's head aligns with the summer solstice sunset, while its coils mark lunar phases and equinoxes with remarkable accuracy. Such deliberate positioning suggests that its builders were keen observers of the skies, carefully integrating astronomy into their sacred architecture. The question of who built Serpent Mound remains unresolved. Some archaeologists attribute it to the Adena culture more than 2,000 years ago, while others suggest it was constructed later by the Fort Ancient culture around 1,000 years ago. Whatever its precise origin, the sophistication of its astronomical alignments shows a deep knowledge of the heavens passed carefully through generations, and Serpent Mound is not alone. Across the American Midwest and Southeast, thousands of earthworks once dotted the landscape: geometric enclosures, platform mounds, burial mounds, and effigies shaped like animals or mythical beings. In Illinois, Cahokia once thrived as the largest city north of Mexico, home to Monk's Mound, a massive earthen platform rising nearly 30 meters high and covering more than 14 acres. It was the centerpiece of a sprawling city that rivaled the great centers of the Old World in scale and influence. In Ohio, the Newark earthworks span nearly 4 square miles, forming vast circles and octagons aligned with the 18.6-year lunar cycle. Achieving such precision would have required generations of careful observation and a cultural system that placed immense importance on celestial rhythms. Native traditions preserve fragments of these deeper meanings. Many tribes, including the Shawnee, Cherokee, and others, tell of earlier peoples who built monumental earthworks to honor the stars and align human life with the cycles of nature. Stories describe these builders as ancient and wise, passing down sacred knowledge before vanishing, leaving their earthen creations as silent witnesses to their existence. To this day, Serpent Mound holds cultural and spiritual significance for Native American communities, who continue to view it not only as an ancient calendar, but also as a sacred space connecting earth, sky, and spirit. Visitors who stand upon its curves often describe a sense of timelessness, as though the landscape itself holds memory. The earthen monuments of North America challenge assumptions that only stone builders achieved grandeur. Though shaped from soil, they endure, embodying the same themes we find across the world's mysteries: astronomical knowledge, spiritual symbolism, and the human drive to leave behind messages in the landscape. Serpent Mound, coiled eternally upon its ridge, reminds us that even the earth beneath our feet can be shaped into a monument of cosmic meaning. Silistani's Chulpas, Peru. From the lush green earthworks of North America, our path now leads us back to South America, high into the windswept plateaus of Peru. Here, overlooking the shimmering blue waters of Lake Umayo near Puno, stands one of the continent's most mysterious archaeological sites, Silistani. Known for its towering stone funerary monuments called chulpas, this site captures both the imagination and the respect of all who visit. At first sight, the chulpas rise like solemn sentinels across the stark landscape. Cylindrical in form, some of these towers stand nearly 12 meters high, constructed from massive stone blocks so precisely cut and fitted that even without mortar, the joints remain seamless. The craftsmanship is so advanced that it rivals the finest masonry of the Inca, and in some cases appears even more sophisticated. These towers were built as monumental tombs for the region's elite. Inside, archaeologists have discovered mummified remains carefully placed in fetal positions, surrounded by offerings of pottery, food, and precious objects intended to accompany the dead into the afterlife. Yet the question remains: why did the builders invest such extraordinary effort and precision into these funerary monuments, far beyond what was necessary for practical burial? The architecture itself raises deeper mysteries. Unlike simple stacked stone structures, the chulpas use an ingenious inward tapering design, making them earthquake-resistant in a land frequently shaken by seismic activity. This innovation speaks to a sophisticated understanding of engineering principles. Equally fascinating is the deliberate orientation of many towers, with entrances facing east toward the rising sun. This suggests a symbolic connection between death, rebirth, and the eternal cycles of the cosmos. Local legends add another dimension. Passed down through generations, the oral traditions speak of ancient giants known as Gentiles, described as beings of great size and power who built the towers before being wiped out in cataclysmic floods or divine punishments. These stories echo myths from across the Andes, where tales of earlier advanced peoples, larger, stronger, and more knowledgeable than later inhabitants, persist. Geological studies lend a measure of credibility to these tales. Evidence shows that Lake Umayo's levels fluctuated dramatically in the distant past, with sudden rises that may have submerged settlements and forced people to abandon their monuments. Could the legends of floods destroying the builders of Silistani be distant memories of such real geological upheavals? Inside the towers, another enigma emerges. Ventilation shafts and drainage systems were carefully incorporated, ensuring that the interior conditions preserved the remains remarkably well. This detail reveals not just artistry, but scientific precision, a deliberate effort to control airflow and moisture long before the development of modern engineering. Today, Silistani's Cholpa stand silently against the Andean sky, their builders forgotten, their legends blurred between history and myth. To the local Aymara and Quechua people, these towers remain sacred, echoes of a time when humans sought to reach eternity not only through spirit, but also through stone. Visitors walking among them cannot help but feel the weight of ages, a reminder that even in death, ancient peoples reached for permanence, creating monuments that outlasted their civilizations. Longyu Caves, China. From the windswept Andean heights of Peru, we now travel across the Pacific to the heart of eastern China, where beneath quiet farmland lies one of the most extraordinary and baffling archaeological discoveries ever made: the Longyu Caves. Hidden for millennia, these vast subterranean chambers were only uncovered in 1992, when local villagers drained what they thought were simple ponds. Instead, they revealed immense man-made caverns carved directly into solid bedrock. Monuments so vast and precise that they immediately raised more questions than answers. To date, at least 24 of these caves have been found, though many researchers suspect more remain undiscovered. Each chamber is cathedral-like in scale, some over 30 meters wide and 30 meters high, with ceilings supported by massive stone pillars left in place during excavation. The sheer volume of rock removed is staggering. Millions of cubic feet painstakingly quarried without leaving behind a trace of rubble or tools. No chisels, no hammers, no construction debris, just smooth, deliberate walls covered with curious parallel markings, as if etched with giant combs. These carved striations are not random. They are uniform, consistent, and cover every surface of the caves: floors, ceilings, pillars, suggesting an intentional design rather than the byproduct of primitive excavation. Some scholars propose they may have held symbolic meaning, while others see them as evidence of specialized techniques or tools now lost to time. What deepens the mystery is the total absence of historical records. Ancient Chinese dynasties were meticulous chroniclers of major projects, yet not a single text mentions the construction of these colossal caverns. If they were created during the Qin or Han dynasties, as some geologists suggest, why were they ignored in the records of some of the most bureaucratically organized empires in history? The silence is deafening. The purpose of the caves remains unknown. Were they quarries, underground granaries, military hideouts, or ceremonial spaces? None of these explanations fully fit. The precision, scale, and artistry point to a project of immense cultural or spiritual significance, far beyond simple utility. Some caves even feature decorative carvings and symbolic motifs unlike any known Chinese artistic tradition, hinting at a lost cultural expression. Even more puzzling is how the caves were lit. Despite their depth, no soot marks have been found on the ceilings, evidence one would expect if torches or oil lamps had been used. How then did workers illuminate the vast interiors as they carved? Did they employ ingenious systems of mirrors, natural light channels, or perhaps techniques we no longer understand? Local folklore offers fragmentary hints. Stories passed down speak of ancestors or semi-mythical builders who carved out sanctuaries beneath the earth, sometimes linked to times of chaos or flood. Yet these tales are vague and symbolic, leaving more questions than answers. Walking through the Longyu Caves today is a humbling experience. The silence is heavy, the air cool, the walls still bearing the enigmatic grooves of vanished hands. The sheer human effort implied is almost unimaginable. Who coordinated such a massive undertaking, and for what purpose? Why are there no records? And how, in all the centuries since, could such a monumental achievement have been completely forgotten? The Longyu Caves remain one of China's greatest unsolved mysteries. They stand as silent evidence that even in one of the world's most carefully documented civilizations, entire chapters of human history can vanish, leaving behind only questions carved in stone. Easter Island Statues, Rapa Nui. From the shadowy depths of China's Longyu Caves, we now cross the vast Pacific to one of the most isolated inhabited places on Earth, Easter Island, or Rapa Nui. This remote volcanic island, thousands of kilometers from the nearest landmass, is home to nearly 900 of the most iconic and mysterious monuments ever created. The Moai statues. These massive figures, carved from volcanic tuff between 1100 and 1600 AD, range in size from modest human-scale statues to giants towering over 10 meters high. The largest ever attempted, still lying unfinished in the quarry at Rano Raraku, would have stood over 20 meters tall and weighed an estimated 250 tons. Even the average Moai, about 4 meters high and 14 tons in weight, represents an astonishing achievement for a culture with limited resources on such a small island. The statues are immediately recognizable. Elongated heads, heavy brows, straight noses, and solemn lips. Originally, their deep eye sockets held coral and obsidian inlays, giving the Moai a piercing, watchful gaze. Many were crowned with massive red stone top-knots, called pukao, quarried from a different location. Each figure was erected on ceremonial stone platforms known as ahu, facing inland to watch over the living communities, guardians of both land and lineage. The greatest mystery, however, lies not in their carving but in their transport. The quarry lies kilometers from many of the statues' final positions, yet the Rapa Nui people managed to move them across rugged terrain without wheels, draft animals, or metal tools. Theories abound. Some suggest they were dragged on wooden sledges or rolled on logs, though this would have required vast amounts of timber on an island where trees eventually became scarce. Another theory, supported by both oral tradition and modern experiments, is that the Moai walked. By carefully rocking the statues upright with ropes, small teams could have inched them forward in a slow, swaying gait. Whether symbolic or practical, the image of statues walking across the island reflects the profound sense of spirituality surrounding their movement. But the mystery of Easter Island extends beyond engineering. Archaeological evidence shows that at its peak, Rapa Nui supported a thriving society of 10,000 to 15,000 people. Then, sometime in the 17th century, catastrophe struck. Deforestation, soil erosion, resource depletion, and possibly climate shifts triggered by the Little Ice Age all combined to collapse the island's fragile ecosystem. Construction of the Moai ceased abruptly, many statues were toppled, and the once prosperous society fractured. Oral traditions preserve memories of these struggles. Some legends speak of rival clans pushing over one another's statues during periods of conflict. Others recount natural disasters, great waves or storms that devastated coastal settlements. Whether through environmental collapse, warfare, or natural cataclysm, the culture that raised the Moai entered decline, leaving behind its solemn sentinels as the last witnesses of a vanished golden age. Today, Easter Island statues stand as powerful reminders of both human ambition and fragility. They embody the will of a small, isolated community to carve permanence into stone, to connect with their ancestors, and to make their presence known to the world, even if that world was thousands of miles away across endless seas. To walk among them is to feel both awe and sorrow, the triumph of creation and the tragedy of collapse. The Moai whisper a story still unresolved, not only of how they were made and moved, but of the fate of the people who devoted centuries to raising them. Göbekli Tepe and other tepes, Turkey. Leaving the windswept shores of Easter Island behind, our journey now takes us to the cradle of civilization, southeastern Turkey. Here, on a quiet hilltop overlooking fertile plains, lies a site that has completely rewritten human history, Göbekli Tepe. At first glance, it looks like nothing more than an ordinary mound. But beneath this potbelly hill, as its name translates, archaeologists have uncovered an astonishing complex built nearly 12,000 years ago. long before the pyramids of Egypt or even Stonehenge. That makes Göbekli Tepe the world's oldest known monumental structure, crafted during a time when humanity was thought to still be simple hunter-gatherers. The site consists of massive circular enclosures, each formed by towering T-shaped limestone pillars, some nearly 6 meters tall and weighing up to 20 tons. What truly sets them apart, however, are the intricate carvings etched across their surfaces. Foxes, vultures, snakes, lions, scorpions, and abstract symbols, all rendered with remarkable skill. These carvings suggest that the builders were not only capable of advanced engineering, but also possessed a rich symbolic and spiritual language. One enigmatic image that has drawn global attention is the so-called handbag symbol, a rectangular shape with a curved handle, depicted on pillars at Göbekli Tepe and echoed in artwork from ancient Mesopotamia, Central America, and beyond. Is this a coincidence or evidence of a shared cultural memory spanning continents? The recurring presence of such symbols has fueled theories of ancient connections far older and broader than traditional history acknowledges. What puzzles archaeologists even more is the purpose of Göbekli Tepe. Unlike later temples or cities, it shows no evidence of domestic life, no homes, no hearths, no everyday tools. Instead, it appears to have been a vast ceremonial center, perhaps the world's first temple, where people from distant areas gathered for rituals, feasts, or astronomical observation. Its pillars are aligned with significant celestial points, suggesting that its builders already possessed an advanced knowledge of the stars. And then, after centuries of use, something extraordinary happened. Around 8000 BC, the people who built Göbekli Tepe deliberately buried it. They covered its enclosures with earth and rubble, as though preserving it for future generations, or sealing it away at the close of an era. This intentional burial kept the site remarkably intact, waiting to be rediscovered millennia later. Even more intriguing is the fact that Göbekli Tepe is not alone. Nearby sites such as Karahan Tepe and Navali Chori share similar designs, with T-shaped pillars and carved imagery. These sister sites suggest that Göbekli Tepe was part of a larger cultural network, an early civilization of astonishing sophistication that has left barely a trace beyond its stone monuments. Local myths from the region recall an ancient time when semi-divine ancestors, sometimes called the Shining Ones, walked among humanity, teaching agriculture, astronomy, and sacred knowledge before disappearing. Though dismissed by mainstream scholars as myth, such stories align eerily with the mysterious origins of these monumental sites. Göbekli Tepe forces us to reconsider the timeline of civilization. It implies that organized religion, complex art, and large-scale construction may have come before agriculture, not after, as previously thought. If so, the roots of human culture may stretch back into a forgotten age, one in which knowledge was greater and connections broader than our textbooks admit. Standing among its weathered pillars today, one cannot escape the feeling that Göbekli Tepe is not simply the beginning of history, but the last surviving memory of a far older world. Great Flood theories, global cataclysm. After wandering among the ancient stones of Göbekli Tepe and its sister sites, a larger pattern begins to emerge. Across continents and cultures, we have encountered monumental works of stone, earth, and underground excavation. We have seen common symbols, advanced astronomical alignments, and feats of engineering that still puzzle modern experts. But there is another thread that binds these mysteries together: the memory of a great flood. Nearly every ancient culture preserved stories of a cataclysmic deluge. In Mesopotamia's Epic of Gilgamesh, the gods send a flood to erase humanity. In the Bible's book of Genesis, Noah's Ark becomes a symbol of survival against divine punishment. Among the Hopi people of North America, waters rise to sweep away a corrupt world. Aboriginal Australians speak of seas surging to divide their lands, while Chinese legends describe devastating floods that reshaped the empire's earliest history. These are not isolated tales. They are echoes of a shared trauma, repeated with striking consistency by civilizations separated by oceans and millennia. Geological evidence adds weight to the myth. At the end of the last ice age, between 12,000 and 8,000 years ago, enormous glaciers melted, raising sea levels by more than 120 meters. Entire coastlines vanished. Fertile plains that once supported thriving populations now lie beneath the waves. The flooding wasn't always slow and gradual. Studies suggest that it occurred in sudden surges, where whole regions were swallowed in just a few generations. To ancient peoples, it must have seemed like the world itself was ending. Some traditions, however, place their floods much later, around 2300 BC, hinting at other catastrophic events, possibly tsunamis, earthquakes, or even impacts from celestial bodies. If true, this would mean multiple waves of global disasters, each powerful enough to wipe out civilizations and erase their histories. Could this explain why megalithic traditions appear so suddenly, scattered across the globe yet echoing the same themes? From the polygonal walls of South America to the stone circles of the Middle East, from Easter Island's Moai to the underground chambers of China, we see evidence of advanced construction emerging abruptly, only to be interrupted or forgotten. Perhaps these were not isolated inventions, but remnants of a once interconnected world, a culture fractured by water and time. Underwater archaeology adds tantalizing hints. Off the coast of Japan's Yonaguni Island, divers discovered structures resembling stepped terraces and plazas. Near Dwarka in India, ruins rest beneath the sea, suggesting thriving cities drowned in antiquity. Similar remains lie off the Mediterranean and Caribbean coasts, silent testaments to a time when land now lost was alive with human activity. The flood myths, then, may be more than allegories. They may be distant memories of real events, memories carried by survivors, preserved in story, and woven into the very foundation of later civilizations. Each legend, each monument, may be a fragment of a larger truth, that human history is not a steady climb from primitive to advanced, but a cycle of growth, destruction, and rebirth. What endures are the stones. The walls, the circles, the tombs, the statues, each a message from those who came before, whispering across the ages. They remind us that our ancestors may have known more, traveled farther, and endured greater trials than we imagine, and that somewhere in our collective memory, buried beneath oceans and sands, lies the story of a world forever changed by water. As we close this journey across continents and time, we are left not with answers, but with questions. Who built these monuments? Why do their designs and symbols echo across the globe? And did a flood, or floods, erase an entire chapter of humanity's story? The mystery remains unsolved. But one truth is clear. Our past is far deeper, stranger, and more interconnected than history books admit.